Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 233. This is, I guess, your Christmas edition because we're recording this the day after Christmas. This is a DC Comics podcast. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, hope you're still around and the Krampus didn't take you.
Krampus?
Yeah, well, Krampus technically comes the 5th, but, you know, who's counting?
Is Krampus different from Krampus?
Yeah, Krampus is all the, however you pronounce it.
Okay.
the big hairy horned monster that comes and takes back kids away.
That's right.
That once I have a child, I can't wait to tell that they have to be good, because sure, Santa bringing you coal is a motivator, but being stolen by a hairy horned monster, that'll keep you in line, right? No need for an elf on a shelf. We got Krampus on a rumpus.
Well, that's a start to the show. It's a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about the new DC books that are out every week. Coming up on this week's show, we have Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Secret Origin issue 1. We have the next 2 chapters of Endless Winter in Justice League Dark 29 and Black Adam Endless Winter Special issue 1. We have Wonder Woman 769, Action Comics 1028, which is the end of Bendis' reign on Superman, and finally Batman Superman 15. That is what's coming up review-wise on this week's show, with a little bit of chat beforehand. Now, there should be a review, a separate standalone review of some kind of Wonder Woman 84 coming. It's a bit weird this time because Connor's absent and whatever, but there'll be something.
From Shazam or Aquaman.
Wait,
was he there for Aquaman?
I think he was there. I think he was there for Aquaman. Was he not?
I don't remember. It's been forever. 2020's lasted 2 years.
Yeah, I think he missed one of those for sure, but it was just because he didn't have time to go to the theater and see it. It wasn't because he...
It was definitely Shazam. Yeah, it was definitely Shazam because we re-razzed him.
Yeah. Because it took ages to see it. That's right. Because I didn't see it until it came to home video. That's right.
Right.
I don't know. I can't remember, but there'll be something. But Matt's not watched it yet. I actually did watch it already. Yeah. So I won't say much because Matt's not seen it. I definitely won't spoil anything.
Either, judging based off of Twitter, it's the greatest movie that's ever been made, or it's the worst movie that's an insult to cinema. So I don't know. I almost got whiplash between 2 different tweets.
I mean, if you want me to give you my ballpark feelings,
I kind of guessed based off of what you said this morning.
You've seen my tweets, but if you'd like me to sort of just clearly give you a general idea on the show for people to
go ahead.
Enjoy as a tease before the proper review, I'll say that I have a lot of things to say about Wonder Woman 84, and every time I feel like we're on the right direction for the DC movies, we get a complete and utter mess like this, and I have no idea why or how it happened or who to blame exactly. I don't know if this is Patty Jenkins, Geoff Johns, whoever's to blame, but someone's to blame. And it's a mess.
Wow.
There's a couple of nice things, there's a couple of good ideas or moments, but for the most part, it's a mess.
Yeah, keep in mind, Pete also didn't enjoy Birds of Prey. So
I mean, that's true. I think this is more objectively a mess though than Birds of Prey was.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just giving people a thing.
Sure.
Just discount. He might have said it's a mess, but you know.
I'll say it's 2.5 hours long. I'll say the pacing is really weird because the first act feels like it takes forever. And I will say that there's little bits of other movies. In a good sense, there's a little bit of Christopher Reeve Superman in there in a couple of moments. On the other end of the spectrum, though, there's a little bit of, say, Spider-Man 3 in there. With a dash of a couple other things. There's a lot of mid-2000s stuff in here, especially with the villains, I felt. There's a bit of Batman Forever, too, actually. Something that made me remind
Well, I don't mind Batman Forever. We gave it a rewatch earlier this year, and it's not good, but it's fun.
Don't get me wrong. If what I was saying there was a reference to someone showing up and going, "It's boiling acid," I would have given it a 10 there in the moment, just for the balls of doing that. But that's not, unfortunately, what I'm talking about.
That means James is gonna love it. He loves Batman Forever.
I don't know. There's a couple of great scenes, but
I know how you feel about Batman Returns, but how are you feeling about the sudden switch to everyone seeming to love it all of a sudden? Like,
it's
I don't understand it.
It's boggling my mind a little bit, but I will say this. Compared to Wonder Woman 84 and compared to some other movies of recent like the last couple of years that are bad. Some of these superhero movies that come out and are just complete messes, like Venom or like Batman v Superman or like some of these other things. I will say I hate Batman Returns, but it is a very distinct vision and coherent kind of film. It's definitely a finished piece of something that someone made that is not to my taste. But I think objectively, it's more of a rounded experience than some of these other things that have come out recently.
Yeah, one of the things I read with 84 though is just that it feels like an 80s comic, and as someone that's not that much of a fan of 80s comics, I don't know if that's supposed to be a recommendation or a stay away type thing. So I don't know. We'll see how it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about 80s comics, but I will say there seems to have been an attempt to bring some things into it to make it feel like it was actually made in 1984. Although not from like the look and feel of the film, say. What I didn't expect was some problematic elements that feels like they're right out of 1984 to be in there. And not just one either. There's a couple of things that are a bit weird. So, like, go in. I think it starts off like the opening 15-20 minutes are strong. You'll be thinking, oh, Peter's, what's he talking about? This is great so far. And then you're going to be waiting for ages for the plot to get going. You're going to be like, oh, maybe. So I'll say no more. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, no.
Full talk coming soon. I will
say that the runtime definitely has put me off just a little bit. I'm over these lengthy movies. Like, I understand Endgame being near 3 hours, right? That's a culmination of things, but like, I don't feel like every superhero movie needs to be 230 plus.
I would be okay if what the movie was actually justified it being that length.
Right. If it feels paced out right, that's why you don't feel the time and whatnot. But like, we just watched the first Wonder Woman because I hadn't seen it since the theaters, and I felt every inch of that, or every minute, every second of that runtime.
Too long?
And the movie's fine. It does feel long. There's pacing issues in that first one, and then to hear something similar with the second, I feel like, come on, guys. Like Aquaman felt the same way, where like we got all the Aquaman stories, and I felt every second of that one too.
Aquaman was overstuffed. Yeah. Aquaman. I felt very mediocre on Aquaman when I saw it in theaters. You can go back to the review at the time to see how I felt. I have only soured on it more since then with hindsight.
Yeah. The more I think about it, I feel that's my problem with a lot of the DC movies outside of Birds of Prey, which has been favorably. I do need to rewatch it, and Shazam, which I was a whole lot of fan. And those are my top 1 and 2 at this current moment. But I just feel like both of those fit what they were trying to do. Like, I feel like the directors knew exactly their vision that they wanted, and I just feel like all the other ones are just kind of scattershot, almost like they're trying to play catch up for unknown reasons. Like, just take your time with the character, right? Like, and Jenkins has already had a turn with Diana, so like you would think that there'd be a more. But that's the thing I'm hearing the most about it. That the runtime and there's a little bit too much of everything.
I would say set your expectations for how much you think that Barbara's getting, because
I've seen that. It makes me very sad, but not that sad, because it's never going to be issue 8 by Rucka. And
it may never be that, but it could have been a lot damn close to the I'll just say, I think there's correlations to be made between Cheetah in this and Venom and Spider-Man 3, and I don't like that I can say that.
No.
I'm not saying it's 1-to-1, but there's definitely there's elements that I can compare between them, and I don't like it.
I don't like that. Don't tell me that Urskatega does get said on screen, just so we finally know how to say it.
If they did, I didn't hear it. I missed it, but I don't think so.
I understand them not doing that, not saying Urskatega Tango. However,
I'll put it this way, Matt. That's never mentioned because that's not the origin of why anything's happening. That's not.
Well, that just tampered. At least I get Pedro Pascal, who I am a big fan of.
That's true.
At least I get him.
That's true.
And, Gal's fine, I guess. You know, outside of Wonder Woman, I've never really seen her in anything where she stands out. Like, if I have, I don't remember. And that's not good. But
yes. But anyway, so full review's coming. There'll be an extensive discussion going through what the movie is and what it everything. So
cheat a moment. It looks like I'm not. I'll always have issue 8.
I'm very disappointed. That's all I'm saying. I'm very disappointed. More on that soon. So that is that. There wasn't a whole lot of news. Obviously, that movie coming out on Christmas Day is kind of the big thing. But when I was looking for news, though, there was actually something on Newsarama that I thought I'd briefly bring up. And that is, apparently they did like a reader's vote for the 10 best DC stories, and I thought it'd be fun just to sort of quickly see what won, see what this top 10 is, because well, so number 10 is Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, very famous Superman story. Oh, that's a surprise.
Very good story. Yeah.
Number 9 is The Return of Barry Allen.
Okay.
Yeah. Number
that's the John's one, right? Or is there another?
Is it not Wade? I thought it was
Is that Wade? The Return of Barry Allen?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm thinking of Rebirth. I was thinking of one of the subtitles.
No. That's the way. That's part of Wade's run. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Number 8 is The Judas Contract. Teen Titans, of course. Number 7, Sinestro Corps War. Green Lantern. I'm skipping over what characters they are just because I feel like people should know. But then a lot of people do actually listen to us when they're just starting to get into DC, so I really should make it clear.
But I mean, if you hear Sinestro Corps, you can
true. That one's a bit more obvious.
But yeah.
Number 6 is The Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
Number 5 is The New Frontier.
All right, that's a good one.
I almost said Final Frontier. I got Star Trek on the front. Number 4 is All Star Superman.
Okay.
Number 3 is The Great Darkness Saga from Legion of Superheroes. That's an interesting pick. Number 2 is Crisis on Infinite Earths. And number 1 is Kingdom Come. I thought this was an interesting list because I feel like most lists that are created tend to put Dark Knight Returns or something like that at the top. And there's actually less Batman in this top 10 than I was expecting when I clicked on it.
Yeah.
Usually you'll see, Killing Joke or Year One, or maybe you'll see, something else.
Well, maybe they wanted to challenge themselves and not put those ones in because they get talked about so much.
Well, it's a vote list though. It's just
oh, that's true.
So that's why I think it's interesting that the votes worked out this way. Maybe it's just where they were advertising the vote. Not if the masses had gotten a hold of it, maybe it'd be different. But
yeah, because that makes sense too with the Great Darkness Saga, because I feel like that's the one that doesn't get talked about like a lot.
Yeah,
totally strange. Kingdom Come on there, that makes me feel happy because it's a Mark Waid DC story. So I haven't read it in forever, but I should maybe revisit that one.
I've not read Great Darkness Saga because I've not read much Legion as previously documented.
Well, I actually haven't read it either. I'm just familiar with it from Legion history and whatnot. It's another one I should probably read, but I do know what happens, and it's it is the big Legion story.
Believe it or not, though, my sort of DC kind of stamp of shame, I suppose, is that I've still not read New Frontier.
Yeah, you should read that one.
I know I should.
You've seen the movie at least, right?
I saw the animated movie, a number of years ago. Yeah.
I mean, the book does go into much deeper detail, and it is a nice cut of what the Silver Age was. So, yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's real good.
Yeah. So I found that, and I thought I'd be interested to have a quick look at the results. It's not surprising that the week that Christmas is on wasn't exactly news heavy.
True.
Especially with Solicits last week being quite
meaty.
So that makes sense. Did you get any DC related things for Christmas, Matt?
I did not this year, because it's been one of those years where back at when I thought my comic shop was closing, I bought a lot of trades just to kind of have them or help the shop out a little bit, because we didn't know what was going on with the pandemic, and now they're back open and everything's kind of to normal. So I kind of got a lot of my DC stuff there. I'm trying to think back, but nothing too much. No, nothing too much.
Not DC related. Yeah, me neither really. No comic related stuff for me for Christmas either. Got some fancy LED strips for the back of my TV to give some Omni or Ambilight, I think they call it.
Nice.
Helps with the eye strain and also improves the black levels because of the trick of the light or something. I don't know.
I might have to look into
though.
that because I've had since, I don't know if it's our lighting or whatever, but when it gets really dark, I have some having a hard time seeing certain things. And I'm wondering if it's because of eye strain because, you know, now that I'm not at work every single day, you know, I'm on my phone a lot or I'm on my iPad a lot. And I'm wondering if that was an eye strain. So if that's supposed to help.
Yeah, especially because the idea is because a lot of people obviously turn the light off when they're watching stuff on TV because you know, movies more cinematic, whatever. But technically, TVs aren't designed to be watched in the dark. So the ambilight is kind of like a sort of mid thing where it kind of still gives you the cinematic feeling, but it adds this extra light around the screen to help with the eye strain. So I've liked it so far. I actually, I think honestly my favorite thing about it is that I'm quite sensitive to backlight bleed or torch effect, which is when sometimes you like, brighter parts of the screen, whenever it goes black, you can see a little bit of the.
I get that too.
Spots, it kind of hides that a bit, which is nice. So I've kind of enjoyed that.
No, that's real cool. We flirted with getting a sound bar, and then the deal wasn't that much of a deal that we had to rush to get it. But I'm definitely thinking about revamping my entertainment setup, just because we have the TCL TV, which is really, really nice. It's very intuitive. We got that, I think, at the beginning of the year last year. And just the way that it works with the Roku, and like I have a universal remote on my phone now, which is nice. So if I can't find the remote to shut it off or whatever, or to adjust settings, it's super nice. But the one problem is the sound is very, depending on what's plugged in, it's very weird. So like the Apple TV, the sound isn't always balanced. So if I go to watch something on Disney Plus, say The Mandalorian, the sound's really low and I have to turn it up way loud. So then if you switch it over to, let's say, the PlayStation to watch a Blu-ray, now the sound's too loud. So I'm thinking I need a sound bar to kind of balance that out. And
I mean, even without those problems, the sound quality is much better anyway. You'll feel a big difference. It'll be less tinny because you'll have some proper speakers. But
no, I definitely like my TCL TV for that. It's just the sound drives me up the wall. It makes me feel like, you know, my hearing's going, but it's not. It's just it's just the one app for whatever reason is super quiet and I can't figure it out. I've adjusted the settings and everything else. So, but I also like new gadgets. So if I can, you know, milk this into getting a sound bar, I'm going to try, right?
Well, I mean, some sound bars pretty cheap. I mean, admittedly, the ones that cost a few hundred will be better than the ones you get for less than $100.
Well,
but
and that's what we were looking at, like right before Christmas. The Target was having a sale on them, and it was like a 15% sale. So the 15% doesn't make. I mean, that's going to cover like tax and a little bit more. So it's not the end of the world that we didn't get one before Christmas. But once we settle all the accounts from Christmas shopping, I'll be looking to get one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even a cheap one will still be much better than the TV sound. So, I mean, it's just a case of how fancy you want to treat yourself.
Cool. And what's cool too is they're all Bluetooth. The ones I was looking at anyways are Bluetooth enabled. So if you want to buy a couple small Bluetooth speakers for kind of cheap, set them up almost like surround sound, which I remember when we started looking at houses even 2-3 years ago, wired surround sound was still like a selling point in some of them. And now I just look at that and you're like, everything's Bluetooth almost now. You know, like
a lot of stuff is, honestly, if I could give you one recommendation to consider, is get a soundbar that comes with a subwoofer, because the extra bass that it adds is a lot to the oomph of everything.
Yeah. That's definitely. Most of them come standard, at least the ones that Target was selling, which is cool. I do like that. But you know, because I was raised with my dad's surround sound system, that was real nice. But you know, you had to position the speakers certain ways and whatnot. So it's been weird going back to just it's one direction, right? Like what's all coming from the TV over the course of the years. So I'm glad that we're figuring it out. But is the subwoofer wired, or is it usually Bluetooth as well?
It can be either. It'll definitely need to plug into the wall because it needs power. But, so it just depends on the model. Some will come with a cable that connects to the subwoofer. Some will just be Bluetooth. I think they're mostly Bluetooth now, to be honest, though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But that's the case, I can move it around the house. Give it a different effect. see where it fits best.
I mean, hell, if you can actually sneak it next to where you sit so you feel the oomph more.
Feel it?
Yeah.
That's what I miss about movie theaters. Like, just that to feel the sound versus just, hearing it.
I mean, most people don't have room like this because typically you have your couch against the wall. But if you do happen to have like room right behind the couch where you sit and put the subwoofer there, it means you can feel a lot of oomph without disturbing the neighbors because you can just have enough to just give you the oomph and nothing more.
Yeah. Well, I'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, this has been your audio tech talk for the portion of the podcast before we get into the books. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. I've got a really old 5.1 system that I've had for a long time. And I don't really have much of a reason to upgrade it, except for the fact
they last, right? Like
they do last. The only issue I have is my AV receiver doesn't throughput 4K because it came out before 4K was a thing. So if I'm watching something that's 4K, whether it's from the Fire Stick or the PS5 or whatever, I have to put it straight to the TV to get the 4K, and then I've got the optical cable going from the TV to the AV receiver, so the sound has to go through that way, which is fine to a point, but the higher quality audio formats that are really high bitrate won't go through the TV. So in some cases, I'm picking between 4K or lossless audio, and it's a first world conundrum, I admit.
Very much.
But
I do know my friend who does audiovisual stuff was explaining to me his soundbar setup, and his wife gets so mad at him because there's almost like a Doc Brown-esque rhythm that he has to put in to make sure the soundbar's on the right channel for depending what they're watching. And I guess she gets really upset with him. And she's like, I just want to watch TV. What's the button to hit? Just watch TV. So just thinking about you having to make the thing I just think that's a film nerd thing because he's very much a film nerd in the way you are.
It's not super complex. I have been tempted because my sound system's about 12 years old now, so I was tempted to get maybe not a super cheap like soundbar, but like a soundbar with a subwoofer that was like, I don't know, about 300 or so, and have that just sort of replace the 5.1 system I've got. And I'm like, well, I miss the surround sound speakers. I don't know, but it would be kind of nice to just get rid of those and rid of the stands and rid of the cables and all that. So
definitely, the wireless to wire debate I saw raging this week on Twitter because of headphones and whatnot, and someone was like, why can't I just get a good pair of wired headphones anymore?
I'm on their side for that one.
Yeah, and
see, wireless for speakers, if you're plugging them in, is great, which is why wireless subwoofer sounds great to me. Anything I have to charge, give me a goddamn wire. I don't want to charge things.
And that was the whole debate too, and it's just like we're almost going too far in another direction, and
I already have a phone, a tablet that I need to charge. Like, the tablet lasts like maybe 2 or 3 days before I have to charge it, but like I have too many things that I have to remember to charge, right? PlayStation controllers, whatever. So I remember, see when the smartwatch came out, like the first like Apple Watch or whatever, and so I was like, I was thinking of getting an Apple Watch. I'm like, why would you get anything else you have to charge? This sounds like especially since all it is like it's like a mini phone in your wrist, just so you don't have to pull your phone out of your pocket.
Well, so my dad, I have a difficult relationship with my dad, and he moved to Thailand, 2 years ago. And he hits me up around the holidays, what do you want for Christmas? And, the Golden Knights just had a new jersey put out. So I told him. Yet he was very hesitant about getting a jersey. And he's like, do you want anything else? So on a lark, I said, an Apple Watch would be nice, just as a joke. Apparently he bought me an Apple Watch that's on its way. So
how much is an Apple Watch? I assume it's like hundreds.
Yes. And he also sent the EarPods, which I didn't ask for, but apparently he feels need to go with the Apple Watch. So as you're saying this, I'm going like, Apple Watch, kind of useless, but kind of cool too. We'll see how it goes. Since I've been running and trying to change how I do fitness and try not to hurt myself with weights, I've started running, and it'll be kind of nice if I can go running and listen to what I want to without having to bring my phone, which is kind of bulky. I don't have a proper pocket for it. You put it in your hoodie pocket and it kind of bounces around. You put it in your short pocket and you have to really tighten them up so you don't, give the neighbors a show as you're on your run. So I kind of like that there, but seeing I got the Apple Watch charger before the Apple Watch came. That's how I kind of knew.
Mm.
that he sent it along, just having another thing to charge.
I mean,
I feel yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, your dad's got you, so it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
an alternative for people, if the reason why you're thinking of getting a smartwatch is just so you can listen to music without having to like find a way to strap your phone to you, you can just buy a little strap that holds your phone for running. I've seen joggers with them. It's not.
I mean, you can, but is it a cool watch? No.
And I'm pretty sure it's an inexpensive, like $5-10 purchase to get this little strap that'll just take your phone. But
it could. I mean, who knows? But
that said, must be nice having a dad who'll just throw like $400-500 at a stupid watch at you for Christmas.
This is what happens when you have a very dysfunctional upbringing, and around the holidays, a parent feels guilty.
There's a lot of guilt. I see.
And I wish instead of just feeling guilty, he just wouldn't do a-hole things from time to time, and we'd be good. Like kid, like I really just wanted the new Reverse Retro jersey. But apparently he didn't want to mess up the sizing, even though I gave him all the information he needed. So I got an Apple Watch, which my dad, I think I get my love of gadgets from him anyways, because he's always, whatever the new thing came out, he would have to have. I mean, that's why we have the surround sound system and the DVD player back before they were standard, in home entertainment stuff.
Actually, I go on a slight rant here. I know we're not getting to comic shit, but this is tech-based, since we're on the subject, right? I was watching Jackie Brown on Christmas Eve, right? Solid Tarantino movie. But I'm not here to talk about the movie.
From 97.
97, right? Yes. Yeah, so I was watching the Blu-ray that I've had for a number of years.
No. This is the one that did the thing, huh?
Yeah, 90 minutes. So it's like 2 hours and... I guess actually almost 2.5 hours, which is a bit normal for Tarantino. I got 90 minutes out of the movie, and it started like skipping. The audio dropped out, and clearly the disc was corrupted or scratched or rotted at this point in the disc. And this would be like, okay, shrug, whatever, lol, I'll go and rent it or whatever to finish it. No big deal. But this is like, I mean,
physical media is not supposed to do this.
This has happened to me a few times in the last couple of years, and I think it's because DVDs, despite the fact that it felt like I had them for a long time before Blu-ray, the actual window of time wasn't that long, because then Blu-ray came out and I switched over to Blu-ray. But now that a lot of my Blu-rays are like between 8 to 12 years old, I think some of them are starting to rot and like not be usable anymore. And it's really, I'm like, this is like, I get that eventually this won't work, but I thought it'd be good for like a few decades.
Which I don't understand that though, because physical media, like I remember when Blu-rays came out, and like the whole idea of the reader being that much better than a DVD reader meant that, if there's a small scratch on there, it's going to glide right over it and it's not going to cause problems.
Oh, it's actually it's actually kind of the opposite. The discs are actually way more sensitive, but that's why if you feel a Blu-ray, there's like a hard coating over it because they had to go out of their way to protect it.
Right, and that's what my layman's understanding of it was. Like, not that you can be rougher, but if something were to happen, you're good, because like if a DVD got scratched, like that was it.
Yeah,
like it's just like your CD and your Discman.
I don't think it's a scratch. I think it's just disc rot. I think it's just age, and
which I didn't think was a thing. I didn't know that was a thing until I came across your Twitter thread.
I've definitely heard other people talk about it, but it's surprising to me that I've had it happen to a few, because my Terminator Blu-ray last year had it happen when I was watching that. There's a bunch of other discs that haven't been working for me recently. Now, admittedly, with those ones, it might just be that my players are a little bit old and need replaced, because the lasers maybe aren't as strong as they used to be, or I don't know what the actual technical issue is. But it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating that between the players being old and the discs getting old, apparently things are just breaking down. And I love physical media for movies because the bit rates are much better than streaming. So it's really upsetting that there's like almost just this reason where I'm like, well, this doesn't seem as worth it anymore if they're just going to go after a while.
Well, yeah, it seems like and I know I'm not accusing them of this, but it's almost like a planned obsolescence. Like, you just have to buy a new Jackie Brown. Now they're more affordable than they were.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
But this is why when I try to buy, so I don't buy a lot of physical stuff anymore, because I just don't buy a lot of movies anymore, because with streaming, it's just like, it's almost easier just to try to find it on a streaming site somewhere. But when I do, I try to get the digital copy too. So I have a small library now of, mostly Star Wars and Marvel and, a couple here and there.
The only thing I'd maybe add is that I might never have watched this disc before, so it's entirely possible this Jackie Brown disc.
That it was just bad.
It was just bad from the get-go.
Yeah.
Which also sucks that I've got random discs that are just always being bad. The Terminator disc from last year, though, was definitely fine originally, because I remember watching it when I got it a couple of times.
As soon as you got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas that went bad over time. And they all just sit in their cases. It's not like I don't leave discs lying out. I hate people that do that.
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah, well, no, because you're not a savage. Like, even that was a thing that, like, when I got together with my wife, she would just kind of set a disc on top of while we watch something else. I was like, you can just put it away. Even put it in the case that doesn't match to. We'll fix it later.
Yeah.
Don't leave it out. You know.
Oh, yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'll have discs and cases swapped around a little bit as I'm just for convenience, but
you put it away. I was always the same with my CDs too. Like, you don't just leave the CD out, put it back in its sleeve,
so
keep it protected.
Don't get me wrong. This could just be a little bit of a string of bad luck that I've had, and it doesn't really mean anything. But as someone who is toying with the idea of getting a 4K Blu-ray player sometime in the next year, it does make me think maybe I should just buy digital 4K movies instead. The reason why I don't like that, though, is because all the services don't have all the movies. There's some stuff that's only on 4K disc, and you can't get the 4K digital version on iTunes or whatever. But I will say, though, iTunes makes it very cheap to buy 4K movies.
Yes, they do.
Because they give you free 4K upgrades for the HD versions, which is very handy. So, and I hate supporting Apple because I hate Apple, but but their movie store's quite good.
I like Apple. I say that talking on my old iMac, looking at my iPad, checking my iPhone. But no, iTunes does make it easy. It's the one I use, and when I do upload the digital copies, they make it easy that you can do it through iTunes now too. So I appreciate the simplicity.
At least you're on an iMac and not an eMac.
Yeah.
Remember eMacs, the big, colorful, chunky monitors?
We still have a couple of them at school that we had to BER, which is basically beyond repair. They're so old that when I was going to work every day, I had to help the tech guy organize because the school's getting rid of them. So they're heavy too. You could murder somebody with one. I am 100% sure. So, but yeah, no, I have an old iMac that's been repaired, and that's how I got it for cheap from a friend. But yeah, and I have the computer that my wife uses for work that was originally meant to be my podcasting laptop. That's also that's a AirBook. So yeah, not that I'm in the cult of Apple, because I understand they have their problems and I understand people not liking them, but at the same time, I like the simplicity. So.
My hatred is just I hate their operating systems. I hate the design of their software. I despise it.
That's cool. I'm not going to argue with you. It's a personal preference thing. I'm not one of those guys. Like, I have a friend that swore he'd never own an iPhone, and then I get a text from him, and it's through iMessage. And I was like, yo, what happened? So everything within reason. I can get complex about comic book continuity. When it comes to tech and stuff, just make it simple for me. Point and click.
Well, with all that said, I think we could finally get onto the comic books this week.
There we go. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Hope you enjoyed your Christmas tech talk. But yes, Dark Knight's Death Metal: The Secret Origin issue 1, Scott Snyder and Geoff Johns writing. There was like 4 artists, so I didn't write them down. I'll get to them in a second when we're actually looking at the credits page. But so this is a Superboy Prime focused one-shot tie-in to Death Metal. Very interesting.
Let me pick your brain on your thoughts of Prime, on Superboy Prime. Where are you at with him as a character before I give my overly emotional thoughts on him?
Superboy Prime has a bit of a love-hate reputation, because some people really, really hate Superboy Prime. I have never been one of those people. I've always enjoyed his inclusion in Infinite Crisis, and his origins, of course. It's very different, his origin, of course. I think John's kind of made Superboy Prime what we think of as Superboy Prime. But I enjoy. I mean, not every appearance he's had since then has been that memorable or important.
No, I'm a little upset about his Shazam appearance, because I do feel like through Metal, Snyder and Johns and Tynion and Williamson, who's ever doing all these stories with Prime, I feel like it's a different Prime, but for the better. I really feel like they fixed this character now.
Whatever. I mean, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think Johns has been involved in anything with Metal until this issue. And
that's why I wanted to give the other guys credit too, because he showed up in those other issues that I wasn't here for, and I don't remember exactly who wrote all of those, but I'm pretty sure those three guys that have been the kind of the core in the Metal.
No, I mean, me and Connor really praised whatever one shot it was, where Wonder Woman kind of convinces Prime to help. By using, kind of like Superman and kind of making him realize, like, what he really wanted. So what is this issue then? So it actually starts with kind of a flashback to Prime before he became Superboy Prime. It's him in the real world.
And he's the Clark Kent of his Earth, and has to live with being named after Superman. And he's adopted as well, and all the similarities are there. And he's got a girlfriend named Lori. Which I do love. They gave her an L name.
Of course. What else would it be?
Yeah, of course.
And it kind of makes you sympathize with him, makes you see what his life is like. The art here, at times, I feel like they were really trying to... I mean, it's not Gary Frank, but there's a couple of times on his face where I feel like they're really trying to do that young Christopher Reeve that Frank did on Secret Origin. In fact, this issue is called Secret Origin, so I guess...
Yeah, right?
I guess that lines up. But, she takes him to the beach, a costume party, and she gives him a Superman outfit. And this is kind of the moment where he jumps up and ends up in the multiverse of the DCU and meeting Superman, and his Earth is erased, and then it kind of jumps ahead. And we get him waiting with the Super Family, waiting for the armies to arrive. And we get his interactions with these other characters. We get to hear what they think about him, that he's, Superboy, Connor Kent, that is, especially, is very opinionated.
Because he killed him. Spoilers for Infinite Crisis. Like, I get it, and I love that, because I was starting to get the feeling as I read Metal that they're gonna redeem Superboy Prime, and like, as someone that still fights against in Star Wars the whole Bendemption thing, and I don't feel it was necessarily earned. It's not something that I'm necessarily against. Like, I do believe that, like, villainous characters can be redeemed. Like, I love Sinestro for that reason.
It took me a second there. When you said Bendemption, I was like, wait, Ben Kenobi?
Yeah.
Why would you make against Kenobi being redeemed? And I'm like, oh wait, no, he means
no.
He means the other
Kenobi never needed redemption. He's old Ben Kenobi. He's fine. But yeah, so, but at the same time, like, I do love Superboy Prime as that villain who's like this kind of as a cipher for kind of the uglier side of fandom, right? He's like all this in Infinite Crisis. His whole motivation is these aren't the heroes that I thought they were. And like, because of that, I'm gonna help Alexander Luthor, change things. And Johns took him to the complete opposite side where he was a full-on villain. But there's always that nobleness to him, right? Like, it came from a good place, and I like that. That's where this kind of came from. Like, it starts with his origin of that.
Yeah, it kind of adds in the idea that he just wanted to also remake his world so that all the people he lost would be back, and he would be back in his life. And I think the fact that this issue ends with him essentially getting to go back, and I mean, okay, not normal, because the final page kind of adds a little super twist into it, but like to go back and be like Laurie's boyfriend again, and be that like sort of more regular version of himself. Actually, it does kind of have this almost aura of like, okay, he spends his time with his heads in comic books. If you think of it at a meta level, the idea that we spend our time in the comic book, in that world, and and completely surrounded by it, but then we have to come back out into reality and be in the real world again, and maybe take some of the lessons with us, some of those morals and ideas that we've read about, but we have to come back to the real world. And the fact that the final scenes of this issue are him back in the real world. We'll get to how that happens in a minute, but the idea that he puts the comic book down and says, no, I'm going to go hang out with you, Laurie. I'm going to go do other things, because it's important to do that too.
Life balance. And that's where, again, I get the cipher of him as that fanboy that only lives in that world, right? Like, but you got to be able to come out of it and adjust your life expectations. So the fact that Johns had made him this villainous character who some of the comic fans hate because he is such a whiny, like, I almost say that they did their mission a little too well. on him. That here he has been redeemed as, yeah, he still started as a Superman. And I also don't want to lose the fact on it that he was kind of the anti-Superman in the way that the Batman Who Laughs is the anti-Batman, right? Where they're kind of these corrupted versions of heroes. But with Superman, there's that innate goodness to him that eventually comes back out, because at a certain point when Connor's like, I don't want to associate with him, and some of the other super family are kind of keeping their distance, ultimately he understands why, and he doesn't like, it's not a problem for him. He still wants to do what he feels is right, and that's bringing back his planet, even if that's a little bit selfish, right? Like, he's not doing it just to help save everyone. There's something in it for him as well. But I like that dynamic at play here.
And something that probably wasn't intended when he was created, obviously, and even in 2006, I don't know if this was something that was a big enough thing that it could have been as much of a thought, but even the idea that Superboy Prime, given how it ends here, the idea that it's kind of a metaphor or an analogy for being like an online avatar, the idea that a fanboy goes to war on the internet wearing his big dumb super suit that's over the top, but then when he comes back to reality, he's just a normal kid who's got a life and stuff. So maybe things went too far. Maybe he got into an argument and said some stupid shit. And the idea of Superboy Prime is like, no, that's the shitty argument on the internet that you couldn't let go. That's the fight on Twitter. And then
even Superboy Prime sounds like a social media handle, right? Like,
it does, yeah.
You know, so no, I really did like the meta context of this one, and that I've said before, I'm kind of fatigued on metal, but I felt this one was different enough that it wasn't just the metal stuff. There was a commentary here at play with what, even when you get into the Batman Who Laughs stuff, or the Darkest Night, whatever he is now, that meta storytelling that goes forward. Like, what does this all mean with like his fight with Perpetua to redo creation? And here we got what it meant for Superboy Prime.
This is a very focused, standalone thing set within the context of metal, but it still has ramifications, because Superboy Prime actually kind of gives the good guys like a fighting chance by destroying all of the worlds that the Darkest Night has created. Because once again, he punches reality, but he does it for the force of good this time. So it's actually kind of a nice upbeat thing. But, he has this moment with Crypto. Crypto's the only one from the Super Family who goes up to speak to him. I say speak, you know what I mean?
But no, he does, which I did love. There's parallels in action for that, too, which I did love. Because, Superboy and Crypto just go together, whether it's John or Superboy Prime or Connor. Like, you kind of want Crypto there for that. So, but it's real nice that I like that Crypto, the dog, dogs who seemingly find the good in people, right? Like, that narrative was there.
No, that was good. So yeah, he fights. He goes off to punch reality, and as he's fighting the Darkest Night. So ending with this big Superboy Prime-esque moment, and sort of basically saying that none of this matters. None of these heroes matter anyway. I'm going to alter reality, and that's when he sees Crypto again. And it's kind of this beat where he sees the possibility of a good future, where he could be a hero, he could be all these things, but it's not really worth it without Laurie. It's not really worth without those actual human parts of him. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a very good moment. In fact, as far as the metal world is concerned, and continuity, they see Superboy Prime lying there dead with Crypto howling over his dead body. It's a great 2-page spread.
It's which is a send up to whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, because that's how ultimately Superman. I think I haven't read that story in forever. There's a very similar page with Crypto and Superman. Which is real nice.
Yeah, but then it does that meta transition where it's him looking at the comic book of this happening. And then we get the actual ending, which is he goes outside with Laurie, and he is still inherently good because there's a kid about to be hit with a car, and he runs to try and help, even though he has seemingly no powers. But the final page reveals that he has picked up the car. Very, old school Action Comics one style visual.
It's everything is kind of Action Comics, even the kid looking kind of towards the camera with a horrified look on their face, like that guy. But yeah, and he has his crypto in
Yeah.
this world now too, which he didn't have before.
Yeah, that was the one thing he kind of changed.
Yep.
Is he had crypto with him now. So yeah, there was a lot of different artists on this.
Mhm. Jerry
Jerry
Ordway.
Ordway, Francis Manapul, Ryan Benjamin, Richard Friend, Paul Pelletier. A lot of artists on this book. It has a longer count.
Yeah, I will say though that I feel like it handles the transitions pretty well. So like you have Ordway kind of handling the Earth Prime stuff at the beginning and the end, and then Francis handles some of the more actiony yet character stuff. I think Superboy Prime.
Manipul section is the part that stuck out the most to me because it's so distinctly different that I kind of felt the change there. That said, the stuff in Earth Prime at the start and the end being a different artist makes complete sense, and actually it's probably better for it that it's a different artist compared to the rest of the book. So I mean that's good stuff. But yeah, a lot of the big 2-page spreads and stuff are kind of going back and forth between Manipul and some of the others. Yeah, honestly, I think outside of like 2, maybe 3, the tie-ins, Metal's had a pretty good track record with the tie-in books because we had that last stories of DC Universe like a week or 2 ago.
That's real good.
That was good. All 3 of those ones where it took the month off was pretty solid. The anthology ones for the most part were all right. It was just that last 1 or 2 that weren't that great of those. So, I think this has been a really well handled event from that side of things. If you've wanted to keep up with all this stuff, this one's kind of weird in that I think that it is skippable in the sense that I think the main story is still going to make complete sense if you've skipped it. I think you read issue 7 of Metal and you won't feel like you've missed anything important. But I do think knowing that Superboy Prime kind of destroyed the planets is at least one little pivotal plot detail, which isn't necessarily worth reading the whole book for. I would say it's worth reading the book for if you give even a slight shit about Superboy Prime. If you care about John's writing Superboy Prime and giving him an ending, because I'm sure someone will bring him back eventually, but this on its own feels like an ending.
Yeah, again, outside of Williamson, kind of I felt like was teasing him for Flash, maybe. No one's really used Superboy Prime outside of John's. So if this is putting him to bed finally, cool. Take him off the board, and
I'm cool with that.
That's kind of it. I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah, and this tie-in compared to something like the Lobo one, which really put me off.
Lobo was definitely the lower end of the tie-ins.
Yeah. I definitely feel like if they were going to add, let's say when the big collected edition comes out, I definitely feel like Last Stories would show up in that, and this would show up in that for sure. Just because I do feel like while you could skip them, they do inform the greater Metal story a little bit.
I feel like there's enough of the tie-ins that there's probably going to be 2 companion books as well as the main one, until of course the omnibus that has everything all mixed in together. Which honestly, for the most part, has been a very pleasant reading experience, single issue to issue, having it, because everything's felt very well placed in between the issues. It all feels like they fit where they belong as we've read them, which is good editing. Good, the editorial has been very good with that, I think.
Definitely.
But I thought it was just great, nice to read a John's comic as well, co-written admittedly, but still it felt John's in places. I felt some of that influence kind of creeping through, and it did make me wish that Johns was going to continue to do more events at DC, because I think his events are the best events DC tends to have. His stuff always, I mean, I felt like he became the event writer, but I feel like it was earned, because all of his events I've enjoyed, and it's not just because I'm a Johns fan. Yeah, just storytelling wise, there's those emotional moments, like even in Infinite Crisis, just the stuff with the Silver Age or Golden Age Superman and Lois and Superboy Prime, like there's that, and then most of his Green Lantern run it's all about emotion, right? Like so yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Yeah, I mean, Three Jokers was kind of a weird case, but I think Doomsday Clock was easily the thing that it's been the most epic thing that we've been excited for issue to issue on the show. Yeah, I mean, outside this almost feels like the most sequel-y to the metaverse concept in Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock with this, because even when he goes back to Earth Prime, I was getting the same vibes with,
And it might have just been the Ordway art because it was very Gary Frank.
Sure.
But the end of Doomsday Clock with how that goes with that character.
Someone even says something at some point about Superman having traveled through multiverses. Actually, maybe in Action Comics now I'm thinking about it, but yeah. But even that coming up felt a little bit like it was referring to the metaverse stuff from Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yep.
So no, I like this tie-in a lot. I think if you give a shit at all about Superboy Prime, I think if you hate Superboy Prime and don't want to read anything about him, you're just going to hate this tie-in. So obviously skip it. But
God forbid that it humanizes him. You gotta keep it. Yeah, you gotta hate that character. So.
Yes, for sure. But I mean, hell, maybe they should have even called it, Death Metal Superboy Prime, just to make it clear what it was. Because I wonder if some people didn't bother reading the solicit or didn't look, see what it was and just picked it up and then were mad that it was a Superboy Prime issue.
Yeah,
that's totally possible. All right, Matt, what are you giving Death Metal Secret Origin?
I'm giving this one an 8.5.
I'm going to concur with the 8.5. I think it was a very strong issue. It was tying into a bit of DC mythology that I enjoyed revisiting and coming back to. I didn't give him an ending, so.
Well, and Crypto, come on.
And Crypto had some good moments for sure. All right. Justice League Dark issue 29. Andy Lanning and Ron Marz writing, with Amancay Nahuelpan and Mariko Santucci on the art. This is of course the next part of DC Endless Winter, part 7, just to keep myself right. So we have 2 parts this week. This was the first of them. And it does focus primarily on the Justice League Dark characters and something they're doing. Again, we have a bit of a flashback at the start with kind of the aftermath of the Viking Prince going down with the Frost King into the crevice. And seemingly we get the idea that just before it ended, that the Frost King was starting to, his humanity was starting to come back. But it wasn't quite enough. But we find them in the Oblivion Bar. Hippolyta, finally we get the idea that she's been telling the story to Wonder Woman at this point in the story. This whole time she's been telling the story. Yeah. And
I love the fact that she, Diana's like, how come you never told me this? She's like, well, you didn't need stories like this. Donna did. And I just kind of like, being the older sibling, you get that a lot from parents. Like, I didn't have to do that with you. Your brother, though, he needed a little prodding. So I felt that I did like that version. I mean, some people might call it lazy. How come she didn't tell Diana? But at the same time, I did like that they threw that in there.
Yeah, and of course this is makes complete sense because the last issue ended with Flash going to Themyscira with Donna to to get to Hippolyta because it seemed like she might know some stuff. So Flash mentions the Justice League are all over the place fighting the various avatars, the ace avatars, and they get to talking about what they can do, and they start talking about the Green and the Swamp Thing, and I assume this has happened in this book that I've not been reading.
Yeah, so in Justice League Dark, they've dealt with the different, not kingdoms. What were they called here? The green, the red, the black.
Yeah.
All of those different, and a couple of the other ones that they've mentioned through Justice League Dark, which was nice because it did feel like a Justice League Dark issue, which I still give Illustrator credit for. Like, yeah, there's an overarching event, but each single issue has felt like an issue of that book.
Yeah.
So, and this one is no different.
Yeah, the main part of the plot, once it gets going, is that Wonder Woman and Zatanna go through to the, I always forget the name of it. Where are they going?
So it's the other place. So it's New Mira. It's where they defeated, the Upside Down Man.
Cool.
And infused it with Swamp Things.
You can tell I've not been reading this book.
No. And so they go through, Swamp Thing basically allows life into this place where there's no life, which ends up destroying Upside Down Man.
Yeah, there's a couple
or at least converting him.
Yeah, there's a couple of really pretty 2-page spreads as they see the what this world looks like now. And they go to Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing is kind of aware of what's going on because the Green's, talking about it and
so whatever. He can't go back basically to Earth and maintain his connection to New Mira. Right, so that's what they're, and even if we could, the Green can't survive in this endless winter. So he's kind of like, I'll do what I can, but I make no promises.
Yeah, well, that was mentioned earlier when I was talking about the various things they were saying. The green's like really weak right now because the
Right.
naturally freezing temperatures and vegetation don't go hand in hand together.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Hippolyta is actually trying to summon the Viking Prince, and she's done a little incantation, and the ghost of the Viking Prince shows
I
up.
love she does Viking magic. And they're like, how do you know how to do this? She goes, you're not an immortal warrior queen without picking up a few magic things, which I love. And she does this whole Valkyrie, which, if you know Norse mythology, Valkyries are like angels that carry souls to Valhalla. And that's all Viking Prince wanted, right? His whole motivation is he's immortal up to a point that he deserves a good death. And so him taking out the Frost King is what gave him his good death. So he got to go to Valhalla. So she does this summoning to the Valkyries, and they bring his spirit down.
And apologizes for disturbing his rest because he kind of earned it. But what this does is that it kind of, both the plots kind of merge. Swamp Thing gives Diana a thing.
So it's a piece of the green in
Yes.
order for them to kind of operate a new avatar. If they need to.
It's basically kind of a bit of green magic or whatever, right? And when they come back, it's like, well, the Viking Prince can help, but he's a ghost, so there's not really much we can do. So the end of the issue is that the green kind of forms essentially a Swamp Thing-esque body around him.
Around the ghost.
So we have a Viking Swamp Thing ghost at the end of this issue.
Viking Prince Swamp Thing. Hoo-wee. I got to that last page, and I was very excited.
I felt like you might enjoy that. And it ends with just Bobo saying, "Oh yeah, I think this endless winter is about to get hot," which is super cheesy, but it made me smile, so I'm okay.
But it's Bobo. Of course, if anyone's allowed to say it, it's him. I did like through this one just them carrying on the Justice League Dark characterizations of like Man Bat, and he's him and Khalid are trying to come up with spells and stuff that can defeat the Endless Winter, but even they can't because it's such a powerful primal force.
Yeah, they're kind of there just sort of researching, helping Hippolyta when she needs help with the spells. So, I mean, the cast is there. They make a point of including the various JLD members, which is cool.
Which is real cool, and just that last page made everything worth it. That we're getting Viking... Hey!
Calm down, doggy.
I guess, yeah, so... 1 second. I'm gonna mute till I can.
Matt's yelling at his dog. This is super exciting. He's back.
Okay. Yes, I'm back. So I just had to yell at the dog, and I don't want to blow out the mics. Anyways, where was I? I was at the Viking. Oh yeah. So we're getting Viking Swamp Thing, which I was kind of worried about how we're gonna have Swamp Thing because how Justice League Dark ended, and like now we have all the members of the Viking Justice League in present day, which is real cool that they managed to finagle that with Black Adam, Hippolyta, Viking Prince as Viking Swamp Thing. So
yes,
great.
Yes, that to combine two of them together, but
yeah,
as you do. No, I think obviously both chapters Endless Winter this week are both kind of cliffhangers going into the final big chapter, which is next week, of course. But this was a fun one. I think it really does feel like we're entering into the final act, and I think it's done a really good job keeping the momentum up. So before we go into the next issue, of course, though, what are you rating Justice League Dark issue 28?
I'm giving this one an 8.5.
Or 29, rather, not 28.
Yeah, 29, yeah. Just again, I'm such a nerd for this Endless Winter stuff. It's so fun. But this issue is specifically because of, like you said, it's starting to enter the endgame piece. Like after this, there's only 2 more issues, and it doesn't feel rushed at all. Like it feels we're reaching just the conclusion of the story.
It's been a very well-paced month-long event. It really has been. Yep. I'm going to give it a straight 8. Like, it's a solid fun. I enjoyed seeing some of these characters again because I've not been reading Dark. Although I will be soon because it's going to be a backup in Bendis' Justice League, which is kind of neat for me. Sucks to be Connor, but it's neat for me.
Yeah, it's Ram V. I think you'll dig. I think you'd actually liked a lot of the Ram V stuff from the tie-in because it wasn't as the esoteric. But I definitely think you'll dig whatever he's going to do in those backups.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Black Adam Endless Winter Special Issue 1, Andy Lanning and Ron Marz writing once again, with Brandon Peterson on the main art and Marco Santucci once again on the the flashback art. which is still there, despite the fact that it kind of, because I wouldn't have been mad if they hadn't continued it at this point, because it kind of felt like we got to the point where Hippolyta ended her story, but they did continue it and let us see what happened next in the in that original timeline. So that was kind of neat.
It's basically Black Adam's always been the ends justify the means, right? Type character, and this part of that story pushes that forward. But even the his story in the present day takes that up to the nth degree, because of what we see him do throughout this one to try to bring the end of Endless Winter. Again, it's like, oh no, he clearly has not learned.
The flashback is basically just kind of the aftermath of the fight, and Swamp Thing actually reforms and says, the Frost King's dead, or he's gone at least.
Green has returned.
Yeah. But I think notably, something that might come up in the final issue next week is that Hippolyta gets like a set of armor from like the townsfolk who want to thank her, and she doesn't feel like she's earned it, but I assume that's something that might pop up. But we have basically Black Adam's team. Multiplex specifically is like sort of scouting all the various Stag Industry buildings, and
which I thought was really cool. That's a nice use of him.
Yeah, it's a neat touch.
Yeah.
But when they find the one that has the family and the ice, Icicle and Silver Banshee come in. You know what? I don't see enough Silver Banshee in my comics these days.
Nope.
She really should pop up more.
Was she in the New 52 Supergirl? Or was that before the New 52?
She might have been as well, but I know her mainly from Peter David's Supergirl run. Going way back. But...
So I knew her primarily, I think, from the New 52, where it was really good, where she was I think an Irish singer. Is that befriends Kara?
Really? Okay.
And is it Irish or Scottish? I can't remember. Very Gaelic sounding name.
Well, I was going to try and do a bad Irish accent, but if she might have been Scottish, I can do it. I can do a pretty good Scottish accent.
I think you do a pretty good bad Scottish accent. Anyways, but yeah, more Silver Banshee, please. Like, she's great.
I'm just imagining a Supergirl villain there with like a thick Scottish. Like, moan then, you blonde bitch! Come out and get it then, you wee. I don't know. I'm just imagining lots of Scottish fight phrases. Anyway, so then Catman's there too. Rampage is there. I'm glad they labeled them. The only one I needed it for was Rampage, if I'm honest. But that's why I'm glad they labeled them though, because there's characters like that I would never know the name of.
Well, because I thought at the beginning in the very first issue that was Mongal, the girl Mongol. Very similar.
I love how,
but she's more of a She-Hulk.
I love how you really have to emphasize the gal, because it just sounds like just Mongol if you say it quickly. We Mike's going, by the way.
Right.
getting the clicking. So Black Adam shows up with his team, threatens Sebastian Stagg.
Yeah.
The son, that is, of course. Simon Stagg being the usual Stagg.
He's definitely his father's son. His sister's brother, for sure.
He's going for the edgy thing with a tattoo or whatever it is in his face. Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely his father's son. The Frost King shows up. He's gotten bigger, seemingly. And there's a bit of a fight with Black Adam. Black Adam's like, I'll kill you like I should have done back then, blah, blah, blah. Stagg almost ruins things by his super-powered Kryptonian crystal-powered like robot weapon thing. Yep. But as we've learned, apparently Kryptonian crystals and technology make the Frost King stronger, and that's why he's even more super-powered than he was back in the day. And Black Adam's aware of this and is like, you stupid idiot, you're going to get us all killed. Like, this is all going fine. So, yeah, a bit of a fight. The rest of the team are like, maybe we should just do a run for it. This just doesn't seem worth it. And the cliffhanger, of course, is that the Justice League show up. And seemingly this is final fight time. We're here.
Yeah, and it just goes hand in hand with Black Adam because he lets the Frost King kill Multiplex.
Yeah.
Like, Multiplex is telling him, like, hey, I can't just keep, like, throwing copies of myself at him. I'm going to run out at some point. I'm going to cut and leave. And Black Adam's like, no, you're in the Kandak army now.
Much like the flashback from last week where Viking Prince went down, he basically says the same thing where he goes, sacrifices must be made. I'm like, it's funny, Black Adam, how the sacrifice is never yours. It's always never one of your subordinates.
Right? And that's why I said it's definitely the ends justify the means. That's his character, and it's consistent. Like, he has not learned anything over the years. So
yeah, can I just I want to talk about here because Batman is riding a Green Lantern construct. Can we talk about what that construct is? Because it looks like it's the Frost King's face.
Yeah,
Batman's riding on.
Yeah, it's definitely some type of monster
Yeah,
of some kind. So,
an
and it
interesting
looks like
choice.
Diana in this issue too. It's almost like maybe she's wearing the armor
Do you know
from
what?
Hippolyta.
Yeah, now you mention it, it does look like it might be the armor that Hippolyta got in
Mhm.
the flashback. You're right, actually. That might have been
So,
already paid off. That's neat.
which I'm sure we'll see in the pages of the Justice League in Capstone.
Yeah, I feel like the Justice League special next week that ends it is going to start off before this moment. I feel like we're going to,
Yeah.
or at least it'll flash back to them making their plan up or something before
Mhm.
they're showing up here. Would be my guess. I mean, not a whole lot to say. I mean, I enjoyed the Black Adam stuff,
Mhm.
and his characterization, and some of the villain banter was kind of fun. All of it makes sense that he's coming after, and because he threatens the family. Because that's the thing, he thinks he's won because he's got the family in the ice, and he's like, I'm going to kill them. And that's why he's so mad at Stag. He's like, no, I had this one. Like I had this one. I had the card. I had the card in my hand that was going to win this game. So
Yeah, no, Black Adam and his hubris. That's like name a better combo.
Matt and Taco Bell, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's your
It will be
favorite.
my weakness. I already know it.
So no, I think I like that both issues though this week both ended with a cliffhanger. Like we're ready for the final fight. So
Yep.
We'll see all the pieces come together in the big special next week. I say big, it's like 40 pages, not that big, but
I mean it's bigger, but yeah. I definitely I hope DC has learned, because we always know that once they learn how to do something, they'll do it again. I hope this like 1 month long kind of event style series happens, because this was fun.
It was fun.
I would like more of my comic storytelling like this.
I much prefer doing this once a year than those theme months they did in New 52. I think this, I mean, not necessarily every Christmas, because it'd probably feel weird if it was all December, but
no, but like I remember when they did the 52, and then after 52 they did 2 other or yearly weekly series, and then diminishing returns and all that. But this just shows like with enough planning they can do this. Like I almost feel Justice League versus Suicide Squad at the beginning of Rebirth kind of set the stage for this kind of storytelling. But
and it's not happened that much. They
definitely have nailed it.
Yeah, no. Until now, yeah. So no, I've been enjoying this, and I mean, admittedly, it is a fairly light, pulpy event that isn't going to matter too much in the long run. So there's almost nothing they could do to like upset me with the ending, because there's not a lot of stakes riding on it. It's just a fun story, but I'm having fun with it. So
and that's what I mean, because I know people get tired of events and like everything always changing, and that's their main problem with continuity. Where this is just like a line-wide crossover of the characters, where, like you said, the stakes are low enough that it can be fun. And,
also, I much prefer like the idea it's just a really bad winter everywhere, because to me that's much more palpable to think the world went through this and has gotten over it, and they all remember this really bad winter, versus something like, say, everyone turned into a fish for a week and got turned back, whereas that's almost too silly for me to buy that everyone had that experience on the planet. That's obviously from Snyder's run, but
from Drowned Earth.
From Drowned Earth, yeah. But yes, so there you go. No, it's what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this one 7.5. Just I didn't think the art was as strong as others in this chapter, but the storytelling is still real good.
Yeah, I'll probably give this a 7. I think I enjoyed the build up to the Viking Swamp thing a little bit more than this one, but I still enjoyed the characterization and stuff. And as a chapter, it's hard to rate it much lower unless it did something stupid or did have bad art. I don't think it has bad art. It's just not as impressive.
It's not like when you have Santucci, and this is not as balanced as some of the other ones. Like you go from Santucci to Nahuelpan, or now I'm not even gonna try to mess that up even more. In Justice League Dark, and they go together. With this art, it's fine, but it doesn't mesh as well, I don't think. Like it's kind of replacement level DC. Like I hate using the house style because I think people throw that around too much. But this is like basic as it gets superhero.
It's kind of dependable house style artist, and that's not. I mean, it's a bit of a slight, but it's not like this is much better than bad. So take that for what you will. All right, cool. Wonder Woman 769, Mariko Tamaki writing with Steve Pugh on art, and I guess this is technically the end of the run. Although I think she is writing the Future State issues. So that may actually really be the end of the run in that sense, especially given how this ends and it kind of teases that Future State's going to be a factor in whatever, at least thematically for what's been happening. But this is, we ended last issue with Liar showing up to the hospital from her perspective, being this castle, and she was in this suit of armor. She's going to kill the Ice Princess, which is Diana. And this is all from Diana's perspective at the start of the issue, where she comes out of the hospital, Liar's there, she's mad that she's not calling her the right thing. And I do actually like the narrative structure here, where everything is in the real world perspective, everything's how Diana sees it in the real world. Liar's just in a jumper, or sorry, a sweater, with a skirt or whatever. And it's the moment where she says, okay, let me see things how you see them. And Liar touches the lasso. That's when we switch to the fantasy version of everything, and then from that point on we stick to it until things wrap up. So I like that choice to not show it from her, because obviously last issue we were sort of jumping in and out of Liar's vision. I think it was good in this issue to not do it until that moment, until Wonder Woman was going to see it that way.
Right, because Wonder Woman makes the decision. Yeah. That's where it's going. Whereas it's not necessarily like. Because again, Wonder Woman doesn't want to defeat Liar. She wants to, rehabilitate her. So of course she's not going to go in guns blazing, which I do like, and she wants to see it from her perspective. Which
it does, get to that point where she ends up staying at the Amazon embassy, to be, raised or looked after by Amazons.
She collects villains as friends. I love that about Diana, because we get another daughter of one of her villains staying with the Amazonians.
I know.
And anywhere else I would kind of be upset, because now it feels like a trope. But with Diana, it just feels natural because she does want to help.
It's better than sit at your Arkham Asylum. So
true.
I really hope that no other writers make her a villain again. I kind of would think it'd be far more interesting if Liar does just become an ally who can then sort of help occasionally with her powers.
Yeah, if they do use her, I wouldn't mind it being in one of those, she's just being misguided, right? Where she's not an overall villain, but almost okay, she goes out into the world and something happens to her, right? And it ends up making her break, and it's almost involuntary type villain. Because I do think her power set's pretty cool. It does set her apart even from Max Lord, who's it's just basic telepathy. Hers is
telepathy.
No, what?
You said telepathy.
Telepathy, yeah, telepathy.
Telepathy.
That's it. Telepathy. That's what I said.
No, the P's first. You're saying the telepathy.
Telepathy. Is that better? I'll slow it down. And
it sounds weird when you say it that slow, but telepathy.
Right. Anyways,
telepathy.
But I do like that she makes people see her world as it is, versus Max, who you just assume is basic mind control. So there is almost an empathy to her that I feel she can almost misuse.
Did you? I don't know. I think if I would ever have predicted that I wanted to see what a bunny dragon looked like, but I appreciate that I did get to see it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because she rides her bunny, which is turned into a dragon, but it's still bunny faced. It's
right.
It's rather wonderful, honestly.
I never thought I would want to see Wonder Woman fight a bunny dragon on top of it.
But yeah, here we are.
Here we are. So
here we are. But I like that when Liar runs away from the fight, and then Wonder Woman chases her down it's like the castle thing, but it turns into just the hall in the hospital. Right. It becomes more normal as she goes down it. But it turns out she's already evacuated Maxwell Lord, who's sitting in a coma. Of course.
So Etta airlifted him out. Which is pretty cool.
And she tries to, she holds her hand and says, "Look, I found out I was the daughter of Zeus, and I chose to be something different. I chose to be something better, and not be defined by what my father is." And that's where she makes this choice. The end of the issue is interesting, though. I love the idea that Maxwell Lord, in his coma, can still use his telepathy to reach out to someone, and he's reaching out to Liar. It's actually insane to me that this is not continuing for more arcs, because this seems like a really good story device.
Yeah, maybe it was supposed to, and then
maybe, yeah.
whatever happened jumped out. That said, as much as I do like Tamaki, I feel like some of her Wonder Woman hasn't been her best work.
It's definitely
maybe,
it's that. I mean, her X-23 and her being super stuff is definitely better than a Wonder Woman.
And but maybe it was going to round into shape, and we just didn't have the time. Like, stuff happens. Just I think of like Brian Hill on Outsiders, where I felt like there was more that they could have done, and it's just like, hey, we're switching directions on stuff.
I think the idea of like Lara trying to be a good character and try to help Wonder Woman, but having like her comatose father talking in her ear and trying to manipulate her is a really interesting kind of status quo to be in. But it seems like it's going into the future state stuff, which is a 2-issue thing. But then we've got a new run, we got a new writer, so we'll see how that goes. But
which is completely disengaged from what it was before, right?
Yeah.
From reading the solicits.
I think so, yeah. That said, I am excited for Tamaki Detective Comics. I think that should be interesting.
Huh?
I'm excited for that. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully Wonder Woman doesn't
being
suffer.
Forced to read because I want to read Damien by Josh Williamson.
You're not being forced to. You want to read Tamaki's Detective anyway. Come on now. Don't start.
I want to read less stuff and have more time to do other things.
There's already less books from March onwards.
I know.
Like much less. Like some weeks, like some of the weeks only have like 5 books, and that's not. Like, that's like the entire DC line. It's not just. Like,
yeah, I know.
You're good. You're fine. Don't worry.
Let me whinge for a minute.
Not when it's like, oh, I need to read Tamaki's Detective. Oh, the torture. Oh,
yes, I know. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the issue. I enjoyed the last issue. I think this last 2 issues have been kind of the best part of the run. I think I'd say.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah. No, I got nothing else to add with that one. It was just kind of it was just the end of the story. Like, it had been building, and Tamaki handles it well. The art's pretty good, which has been pretty consistent. I do like Steve Pugh a lot from his work with Flintstones. Mark Russell. He's Pugh did the art there, and I would say that it's not as good as the Flintstone stuff, but because it's so different. But I think Pugh handles the superhero stuff pretty well. And again, Bunny Dragon, like we had some fantastical stuff here.
I think the art's enjoyable enough. It's not my favorite style by any means, but I was definitely pleased as I was reading it. So I can't complain too much. What are you giving Wonder Woman?
I'm gonna give this one a solid 8.
I would go with a 7.5. And I think that's mainly just because I'm a little disappointed that this isn't leading to more stuff beyond maybe just 2 future state issues. So, but yeah, so we'll go with that. All right. All right, let's move on then. Action Comics 1028. Brian Michael Bendis writing with John Romita Jr. unfortunately on the art. And I say unfortunately in this case because I actually like this issue quite a bit story-wise and what the characters actually do. The art is just horrendous to look at the entire time.
So I will say though, it's not so. JRJR would have moments where the art was like good JRJR art. So you might not like JRJR, but this was kind of top level. I feel like he really brought the A game here. It wasn't as messy. We didn't have those characters looking like characters from the Endless, right? Like that said, I don't know if he knows what a taco looks like. So it's not a good looking taco.
I mean, it's a pretty simple. It's a pretty simple. It's like a yellow half circle. Is this? It's not. It's not much.
He's got to add extra lines to it because I guess it's JRJR and that's what he does. That said, I just want to get that out of the way because we tend to just go on how we don't like that art, but this was a nice fitting end to Bendis's run.
That's the sad part about this show is that it is actually a really nice ending in a lot of ways. All the stuff at the start, which is that Jimmy.
He's in shock.
Jimmy. It's Perry's in shock, and Jimmy now owns the Daily Planet, and that's why he's in shock. And all the things where and he's just sitting there, he's not really taking things in. But there's that great moment where he sort of says, I think I'm going to give myself a cubicle, and Lois points out, oh, you own the place, you can kind of do whatever you want. And he leans into Perry and says, creative control. And he's like, I mean, Lois is right, you own the place. And he takes off his glasses, like, it's a really serious moment. You can do whatever you want. And he's like, no, I'm giving you creative control.
Yeah. Chief, like, which I do love. Like, I do love Jimmy is the spirit of the Daily Planet now.
I do kind of want, like, at least a mini-series, which is essentially an Office-esque comedy where Jimmy's now in charge of the Daily Planet, and he's just, like, exploring how he's kind of throwing his weight around a little bit.
You know what? Fraction needs to do more stuff. Give it to Fraction. I feel like Fraction and Lieber could do this. Even if it's just a mini.
Yeah, just a mini. All 6-issue mini. Just, I'd have fun with that.
And Jimmy gives a nice, quick, Bendis kind of sums up the Jimmy Olsen series as quickly as possible for Bendis. It still takes up a whole page and like 6 panels and a lot of dialogue. But Jimmy explains how him and Lex are co-owners of the family fortune because they're the same family at the end of the day. But Luthor can't tell him how to spend the money. He can't tell how to Luthor spend the money. But through the Daily Planet, he could tattle on Luthor, which I just love that dynamic, and I hope it exists going forward in this book. And it also doesn't
betray the fact that Daily Planet and Superman have exposed Luthor time and time again anyway.
Exactly. And it's just, it goes in there. So Jimmy's like, so it doesn't, it doesn't get in the way of me having access to the family fortune. I did love that.
So that's the first part. The second part is to go back to the Hall of Justice and deal with the mystery of Connor. And they set up an interesting thing that I assume that maybe like a writer at some point is going to do something with this, is that his powers might not last. And they might like be there for decades and they might just go away with like old age, or they might be gone in a couple of weeks. Like they have no idea. But he will have a normal lifespan because I love the kind of, especially a Blade Runner reference when they say sometimes clones have a built-in kill switch where they'll die after a couple of years.
I did like that. But so if he loses powers, does he just become boy?
Yes, he's just boy.
Yeah, he's just boy.
Cue Kratos from God of War. Boy.
So, and I did like too that Clark, because what does that mean for Superboy and the legacy? Because John's around and like, I did like that Clark's like, well, you are a clone of me. You're not really my son. You're more like my brother. Which I really like that dynamic, and it's something that hasn't really been explored, and that it makes sense because the Kent still raised him.
Yeah, so I also like it in the sense that now that Superman actually has a son, I think defining Connor as more of a little brother, it makes it neater. Because if you think of him as kind of a surrogate son, then it's like, well, John feels almost less special because there was already kind of a son. So
but it almost makes him like, because with Batman it's a little bit different, but I never felt like Tim was a son, as more like a protege of Bruce, versus Dick and Damian, those are like, I feel like Grayson is his son through and through as much as Damian is. So I feel like it matches Connor with Tim even more now. Whereas they're not quite the father-son dynamic, but they're still an offshoot of that sidekick role, and it makes him feel special. Yeah. So,
and of course, this leads to him taking him to the Kent farm where he will live with the Kents. There's a joke here. There's a little joke here from Supergirl about asking about Brainy. So, hey, that Brainy guy you showed up with, what's his deal? Yeah. But she has to fly off. So I don't know what.
One of my favorite things in this issue, though, was her explaining why she has to go. Because she's like, so I did this slight team up with Metamorpho that ended up lasting a week because he talked so much, or I talked so much, I couldn't, tell him I had to leave. So I'm going to go now while I have a moment. I thought that was some really good Bendis, dialogue storytelling.
Yeah. So. I like to say there's a moment with Crypto where Crypto does recognize him, and that's one of the things they mention is that Superman remembers so many things from past multiverse shenanigans, but he doesn't remember Connor Kent, which made me chuckle a little bit.
It almost told me that Bendis didn't think about that when he did when he brought this in, and this was just kind of his multiverse, That's why you don't remember him.
It's it's just a mystery why you don't remember him, even though you seem to remember everything else. Very odd.
Yeah, because he didn't do Rebirth, right? That was not Rebirth. Yeah, Superman Reborn.
Yes, that was before. Yeah, that was all before. Yeah.
Connor Kent, right?
So my old joke of Connor Kent, who still applies to Superman.
It does, but now he has a little brother. You know, he gained a little brother, and I do like the Kents fully embrace Connor. That was such a nice moment.
Which then leads to, once that's dealt with, it becomes, father and son, Superman and John. And John's like, hey, let's just spend the afternoon helping people around town, around Metropolis. So we get this, essentially a montage of them helping in various situations, talking about his time in the Legion, catching up, going for tacos, hanging out with Robin and Batman.
Another favorite moment was I could tell Bendis has had enough of the internet's bullshit. Where someone in the crowd yells at John, "You should only be teaming up with Damian."
Actually, now I assumed you were right about the tacos, but now that I'm on that page looking at them,
look at it.
Why are they the size of like a pizza? They're huge.
Yeah, he doesn't know what a taco looks like.
They're huge. They look like a calzone.
Yeah. Calzones have betrayed them. Thought they were tacos. They were calzones.
Oh dear.
But no, that bystander in the crowd, and that killed me.
And John, of course, getting advice about the fact that he's into Saturn Girl, and he feels weird because she has telepathy. And Superman points out, I've been around with Martian Manhunter for a long time now, and one of the things that he tells me, and the other mind readers have told me, is that they kind of view humans or view other people differently, because they hear all the surface level things all the time anyway. They kind of just learn to filter that out, because John's rightfully perhaps worried that his teenage brain might think of something dirty,
right?
When he's talking to her.
And this is where I'm with some of the people that were upset that John has not been around Clark a lot, because Bendis does have their patter down, and this feels like a father-son conversation.
It's a shame, we lost out on it. Yeah,
we've missed out on a lot of it. But it did give us some good stuff with when he had to do the magic stuff in Superman, he had to deal with them being upset, right? Sorry, I got distracted by a doorbell.
Yeah, Matt's ordered some tacos. He was talking about tacos so much that he slightly ordered some Taco Bell under his...
but him being upset by missing out on John's growing up because of Jor-El, I did enjoy that. So I will be right back because I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was not tacos, nor was it his Apple Watch, which he was hoping it was. No. But a lot of weird, otherworldly things happening in this episode, off in the distance.
It is. I can't help it. It's I would say it's the Yuletide spirit still hanging out.
Speaking of, so I was both amused that Lois was also happy that they brought tacos to her, but also horrified of the art, because her face is just 2 lines and a mouth. It's horrendous. Look at it. It's like a child's drawing on this panel. It's disturbing. But also because everyone knows who Clark is now, John calling Jimmy Uncle Jimmy. I don't know, how did you feel about that? Did that move the heart needle a little bit?
I did like it, because I do like the Superman family connection, just because Jimmy, I always felt like Jimmy should know that Clark is Superman, just because they spend so much time together. It's always the lowest thing too. That's the one thing I did like in Man of Steel, where they don't even play around that Lois is able to deduce Superman and stuff. So, but no, I liked it. It wasn't one of those big emotional moments. Not like the Clark and John heart to heart about Saturn Girl, but it is nice.
That was a nice touch. I liked it. And Lois is like, yeah, you've not made up for missing Mother's Day yet. Also, the panel of Lois kissing John on the cheek is like nightmare fuel. It's like her face is doing that thing that like in the Matrix when their mouth gets covered and it sort of goes together. It looks kind of like that.
Yeah.
Disturbing. So they go.
I'm trying to be nice. It's the last issue. We have to deal with it, man.
All right. Well, okay. So the final scene is they go to a meeting. Daily Planet. Clark's not got his glasses on, just to sort of, we're in this world now where everyone knows who he is. And to add to that, when news comes up of a situation somewhere, in Kandak specifically,
Yep.
he just like opens his shirt and says, "Sorry, everyone, I need to go," and flies out the window. Just to sort of give us this is the new world now. He can just say, "Oh, there's a situation, I need to go." He doesn't have to hide it. He doesn't have to say anything else.
He doesn't have to go, "Hey, look over there," and then disappear.
Yeah, he just flies out the window.
I did love. I think it's Steve Lombard, who, mind you, who's a sports writer, goes, "How come Clark gets to do Kahndaq? He just gets to go do that now?" And I think it's Perry goes, "So what? You're gonna hop on a plane and get there? No, all right then, shut up. Clark's gonna handle it."
Yeah, the last dialogue of the issue is just Perry complaining about typos, Jimmy wanting to go get lunch, and the final page after Superman's gone is just Clark's desk, which is just a bunch of like all the post-it notes and like things are just like thanking people and stuff for the end of the run. This is honestly, it was the perfect final issue story-wise for all of Bendis' Superman. It really is perfect in that sense. It's just unfortunate that it all looks horrendous because it's still JRJR on the art. So
yeah, that's a shame. I did like these notes on the thing too, like Signal from Warworld, which I feel is the future state. And where was Ambush Bug, or where is Ambush Bug? I wonder if that's a maybe like a Justice League kind of tease.
Yeah, maybe. It could also just be him referencing an obscure character that he likes.
Right, or Code Received, PKJ. Like, what's that about? But I do like the thank you notes that are on the desk. Thanks to Dan for the ride, but it's kind of a little obscured. Just suiting his DDO, right? And like the thing to the fans and stuff. That was real nice. So I'm kind of happy to get a different voice on Superman now going forward. Because we've had 2 years of action in Superman. I mean,
Superman and Action have been single shipping since Bendis took over, admittedly, but with everything going single shipping, that is definitely a limited number of books per month. So you'll get your wish, Matt. You'll have less to buy.
True. But I'm just, I've heard good things about the new writer, but I'm still hoping that maybe those first issues is just a one-off, that and that we're gonna get 2 different writers.
I don't think it's a one-off. I think it may be a one-off that they're part 1 and 2 of a story.
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean.
Yeah. I think it'll still be him writing both though.
Yeah, as long as they're disconnected enough that they feel different. I do miss that. Like back where we had Jurgens doing Action and we had Tamaki doing Superman, they both felt like different aspects of Superman. I miss that. So hopefully going forward, but I'm not upset at the ending. Like overall, it was a fun ride from Bendis.
I liked a lot of stuff early on in the run. It's actually kind of weird how it kind of parallels the Tamaki run in a lot of ways, where it started off really strong. I think Bendis' run was stronger for longer, but some of the stuff in the back, like year of it, especially with the Romita art or whatever, like it definitely did have its down moments, and so. Overall, I'm happy with where the characters went. I'm happy where it's been left off. Looking forward to seeing what comes next. But it's definitely not just it's because I think part of me was hoping to get into it. This is going to be like Bendis' Superman will be talked about like Bendis' Daredevil, and it's not. It's not that. No. And that's a shame. But that's okay.
So probably actually closer to his Iron Man, right? Where it was like, oh, this is gonna be really, really good. And then you bring in all these expectations, and then it's fine. Like, it has high points, but there's definitely low points.
Did Bendis do Iron Man?
Oh, yeah. He had the dual series. He had International.
Oh, of course. He did Ironheart. I'm forgetting. Yeah, it sort of quickly became Ironheart, so I kind of forgotten about it. You're right, yeah.
I do recommend International Iron Man, which is kind of the story and Tony learning about his parents, which I think was a really fun story, but that was like 6 or 7 issues. One of them, Mary Jane co-stars weirdly as his like assistant, which that was fun while it lasted. I can't remember which book that was in, but yeah, I would put that up there with that because there were these highs and lows. It wasn't as consistent as like his Daredevil or his Avengers stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping with them having less stuff ongoing that his Justice League will have a really good solid plan. because I'm looking forward to checking it out. And hopefully that also means Naomi season 2 and maybe the other Checkmate, the other Leviathan book is coming in the not too distant future.
There's still threads dangling. I kind of hope he picks up in parts of Justice League. Because I was really invested into that, but I'm guessing with Canary and Arrow, so at the forefront, I'd be safe to say there might be some stuff in there.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. So there you go. That is the end of Bendis' run on Superman. It's right because we've been here from the start, middle, and end of it. And this is it. What are you giving this final issue?
Okay, so the art's real rough, so I gotta take that into account. But I really enjoyed the story, so I don't know where to exactly rate it. So I guess it's safe to say that it's a 7. I'm gonna be generous because I did enjoy the story a lot.
I get it. Like, I'm gonna give it a 6, meaning that I really like the story beats. I like what it does in that sense, but I hate the art. Like, I despise the art, so I can't go any higher than a 6. The art is just so bad that I can't. Fair enough. So that's where I fall on it. Before we move on to the next book, though, I have a live update. Okay. Connor has finished Wonder Woman 84, and I thought I'm going to read out his tweet because it's very different from my impressions.
So it's just like the internet in general. It's either the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever.
He says he liked it quite a bit. It's not perfect, but had a lot of fun, although more the first half than the second, admittedly. That said, I was in shock at how quickly it went in. I paused to get a drink at some point and only had 30 minutes left, and that stunned me. That is a lot more positive than I'd expect. I think it's a straight up mess, but more on that in the full review coming soon.
Wow.
I'm very curious to see how you take to it, Matt.
That Ginge, man. I don't understand him sometimes.
I'm very curious to see how you take to it. I'm very curious to see how Tim takes to it. But we'll see. All right. So, where are we? Batman Superman 15, Joshua Williamson writing with Andrei Bressan on the art. Final book of the week. So, to dive into this is actually the end of Williamson's run. Surprise. Although, again, he might be doing the... I don't know if he's doing the Future State stuff or if the new team's doing the Future State stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I'm not sure either, but I know that the book's going to Yang.
Yeah.
Afterwards, and it's going to be this weird golden agey type thing that I'm very excited for.
Which feels like it might come out of Future State, given that it is a weird sort of timeline thing. Right. So this is very much a one and done. This is just a one issue story about Superman and Batman transporting Solomon Grundy, who is unstable and is going to explode. Because every time he is reborn with a new purpose, and he's unstable.
Which I do love that they play with, because that's something that doesn't get brought up enough with Grundy.
That's true.
Like a lot of the times they use him as a Hulk cipher, that he's just destroying stuff and goes forward. But here I do like that he's different, because even in Justice League Dark, when he showed up in Justice League Dark, he was like this weird zombie version of himself. So I do like that's how you can play a different version of Grundy. So here he's like set to explode, so they got to get him to Slaughter Swamp. But we had a nice fun cameo that I enjoyed.
Okay, yes, you're happy Poison Ivy was there as a consultant because Grundy has a tenuous connection with the Green, and she has some experience with that. Basically, she surmises that he has to be taken back to Slaughter Swamp, his place of origin,
ancestral home, if you will,
to kind of go peacefully and come back as whatever he's going to come back as, to avoid exploding. So Superman wants to fly him there. Batman thinks that'll be too unstable and he might go because of the speed and whatever. So they escort him in a jet. A team of C-listers shows up to try and take him in. The Secret Society of Villains want him. So fight ensues. So,
I remember Deadline from another book, but I can't remember what book it was. But
yeah, it sounds familiar to me too. Obviously, Killer Moth we all know well enough. Yes. But some of these other ones, I mean, I couldn't tell you without some. This is where I could use labels. I could use the label on this page where they'll show up. But so Batman actually, because the jet explodes, Batman rides on the back of the chair that Grundy's strapped to like it's a sled, and then bat wings come out of it, and I'm like, and this is so ridiculous, but I kind of chuckled at it. A, because the visual was kind of funny, but also because Superman said, "Are you insane?" He's like, "Why are you still asking me that?"
Yeah.
How long have you done with me?
Pretty good.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, the actual fight just feels like we have to have a comic book fight. I did think it was a bit weird that this is set in like a really extreme winter, because when the issue started, I expected it to tie into Endless Winter, and it didn't.
No. Yeah. Also, where is Slaughter Swamp in Gotham? I was trying to place it in the maps that we've seen, and like, I just don't think of a swamp in like an area that's gonna be like, I had never thought about this before.
I don't know, I guess, I mean, Wayne Manor's kind of on the outskirts where it's all kind of foresty. I don't think it's near Wayne Manor, but if there's an area like that with Wayne Manor is, then I could see there been an area on the other side of the city that's... Honestly, though, the fact that you've looked at maps is really funny to me, because I never do that. I don't care. You're the... I mean, I know you're not a Trekkie, but you're the sort of Trek fan that has a diagram and the blueprints of the Enterprise and knows where all the rooms are. That's you.
Hey, I'm the type of person that saves Galaxy Quest, right?
Oh, like, okay.
Yeah, they're able to find the device at the end because of someone like me. So, hey.
I mean, that is fair. I mean, I think when it comes to stuff like that, I think like with Firefly, I do know the layout of the ship, but that's not because I'm ultra nerdy with it in that way.
What?
It's more that the show does a good job of like showing you how everything connects, because the set all connected to each other, so you actually got to see the layout as you were walking through it. Whereas in something like Star Trek, it's all separate things where they just go through a turbo lift and they end up there because it's meant to be so big that, you know, whatever.
Right. I mean, it is. Yeah, those starships are huge. But no, just because you see, like, I remember it was Gates of Gotham was the first time, because it was about all the bridges and about the different areas of Gotham, which made me like,
which was right.
How's Gotham set?
And that was right before the New 52. That was in the build up to that. So I remember that.
So yeah.
So they get to Slaughter Swamp, and Swamp Thing shows up. Basically, you know, the Green has been aware of what's going on. They speculate that Ivy might have like sort of called ahead, as it were, but he's like, the Green knows. So yeah, he's going to go peacefully, without pain for once, and it's sort of like, you know, this little bit of forestation grows in the icy swamp, into whatever he's going to be next time. I will say, the ending of this was really predictable, because as soon as there was a conversation before the fight broke out, where Batman admitted that he'd never been in a snowball fight, I was like, okay, this is really obvious that that Superman's going to throw a snowball at him at the end of the issue. It's so obvious it's going to happen.
Superman's like, I couldn't fall at full speed or I'd take your head off, so you're lucky. I was just like, all right, Clark, don't flex the jerk muscle too hard.
If anything, I thought it was missing like a moment where it felt like Batman was taking it too seriously, only for Superman to try and say something and then just having a panel of a snowball hitting his face.
Boom. Yeah, that almost would have been better. Although it was low-key sad that when he was like, I never had snowball fights because Alfred didn't want to get his tux wet. And he was like, oh man, Bruce legit had no friends.
I wonder... I actually do think that may be a slight misstep on Williamson, because I feel like Alfred would be up for a snowball fight.
Me too.
If anything, I feel like Alfred would try to like give Bruce a snowball fight for his childhood, and Bruce would be like,
a slight tweak. Yeah, a slight tweak to that would be, I never had a snowball fight with Alfred because I didn't want to get cold and wet.
Yes.
That a slight tweak would have been there, but but it was kind of sad that, you know, Bruce admits that he didn't have any friends. So yeah.
Do you know, I wasn't familiar with this artist, and I think the art is generally pretty good. I think the action looks good. I think the way it falls down, and it's a place where often a lot of artists will fall down, if there is a fall down for me, is in some of the faces. I think Superman's face often looks a little bit off, especially the final spread, which is them just sort of flying off together. Like there's something weird about his head. It looks kind of like a 12-year-old boy instead of a man. There's something just a little bit off about it.
The age is a little bit. Yeah.
That said, though, I do like how inky everything is. I think it's a really inky art, which might be less about the artist and more about the inker, admittedly. Very deep blacks, a lot of shading on the Superman suit, which I do tend to enjoy. Although I love the cape tucked in, but sometimes they do this thing where it's tucked in all the way around to the front, and it does a lot of that in this issue. Well, I don't hate it, but it is notable. It's different than usual.
Right. Yeah, it comes just down to styling, I guess, right? That's how people draw that character.
It feels like the cape's supposed to like fall down in front of him as well, because it's meant to close almost like a, you know, like a more ceremonial cape than a
Mhm.
like an actual superhero cape. But that's an alright little issue though. It's not super
Yeah.
important. It's fine.
Yeah, it was off to a rough start back at the very beginning with the tie-in to was it Hell Arisen and whatnot, but it kind of really just became its own fun thing where you just could feel like Williamson would have ideas for a Batman Superman story.
Yeah.
And
I've
he'd
been up
go
and
off on
down.
it.
Like I thought the one with Batwoman and Cyborg was a little bit weaker than the ones that had came before.
You mean Steel?
Oh, sorry, Steel. Yeah, not Cyborg.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steel.
Yeah.
I thought that was
yeah.
a bit weaker, but yeah, it's been a fun little series, and I'm curious to see what Yang does with it.
Yep.
And it's going to be very different. It's going to be a very different series
Mhm.
when Yang gets his hands on it.
Yeah, I definitely feel between New Superman and Terrifics, Yang has had his, room to spread to tell as weird stories as he wanted.
I do.
And I'm curious to see how that goes with Batman and Superman.
Unless they anthologize it so that it's like a new writer every like 6 or 7 issues.
That could be too.
Yeah, I feel like its days are numbered though. I feel like Yang been on it means that it's maybe going to get 12 more issues and it'll probably be done. And I hate saying that, but
yeah, I know.
But I feel like that's probably what's going to because
it makes sense.
Because it is becoming this weirder golden age thing. I feel like it's not going to last much longer. Then it's going to be cool for 12 issues or something like that, and then be gone. Would be my guess. And I say that as someone who didn't want New Superman to end. I wanted that to go on at least twice as long as it did. But hey, we are where we are. What are you giving Batman Superman 15?
I'm gonna give this one a 7.5.
Straight 7 for me. I thought it was enjoyable, but not special. But some neat moments. I thought the snowball ending was so predictable as soon as he brought it up that it kind of I almost felt a little bit cynical about it when waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
But there you go. So that's Batman Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the end of the books. I do have some Patreon books for this month. I actually pushed both of them till next week because it's a week 5 and there's only like 3 books. I think we need to do, maybe 4. We'll find out a little bit. I'll get to the list soon. But this is the part of the show where we pick our favorite moment / panel, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books of the week. So that's what we're going to do now. So panel / moment, Matt. What you got?
So there's a couple I could pull from this week. I really love the Crypto and Superboy Prime stuff in Secret Origin. I also you have the Justice League Dark Viking Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the art, the Crypto Connor moment is kind of high.
Oh, okay.
Right? But it's Viking Swamp Thing. Like I let out a audible hell yeah, like Kite Man, when I got to that page. So gotta go for it.
Yeah, that's a good moment. Little tempted by that myself. I think though I'm gonna go with Superboy Prime destroying all the dark planets, like the last 52.
Yeah.
I think I like that moment a lot, especially because it's like the idea of like him using his reality punching powers for good is kind of a neat redemptive moment. It was nice to feel a little bit of that John's magic in there. So yeah, that's my pick. What was your cover of the week?
So looking at some of these, I don't know if one sticks out as much, but I really like the Middleton Wonder Woman variant. I think it's Middleton.
Yeah, I'm looking at the different ones here. I'm not necessarily in love with a lot of the covers this week. Luckily, though, there's a very easy one. The metal variant is one of those Gary Frank covers.
But it's a larger whole piece. That's why I can't like.
But it's the GSA.
I wanted to pick it.
It's the GSA one though.
I know.
It's Gary Frank drawing the GSA, and it looks gorgeous. So that's my pick. The Secret Origin issue 1 variant. That's my pick. Right? Did you make yours?
Oh yeah, it was Wonder Woman Middleton.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like bright colors. It's not typical of the Middleton, So it stands out.
Well, in that case, best art.
Oh man, I can tell you what it's not.
It's honestly, it's kind of a weird week because the books that have better art have a lot of different artists on them. So
right,
you're kind of
well, it's down to Secret Origin in Justice League Dark. I feel. I mean, you could go Wonder Woman 2 with Pugh.
I agree with that. I think it's between those two as well.
Yeah. So I'll give it to Secret Origin just because I had the Manipul stuff, you had the Ordway stuff in there, And even the Pelletier, who's hit or miss, I felt it really hit.
I think
So, yeah.
Origin's a little bit up and down because there's so many. So I'm going to go with Justice League Dark because I think the Nahuelpan art I think is really solid. I really liked it because when it switched to that from the Santucci art, which is solid and has been solid in the flashbacks, I was like, oh, this looks quite nice. I was worried that it might go down or whatever, but like I got to the Hippolyta in the bar explaining things. I was like, oh, this looks really good, and it felt consistent. I felt really satisfied with the art throughout. I didn't have really any caveats like I did with some of the other ones that I mentioned, where some faces are off here or whatever. So yeah, just like Dark 29, which leads us to ranking your top 5 books. So
yep. All right. So number 1's going to be Secret Origin. Number 2 is going to be Justice League Dark. Number 3 is Wonder Woman. Number 4 is Black Adam. Number 5 is Batman Superman.
Yeah, that means I don't think it's going to be much different. Secret Origin number 1, number 2 Justice League Dark, number 3 Wonder Woman, number 4 Black Adam, number 5 Batman Superman.
Yeah.
Was that the same? Was that exactly the same?
I think so. I mean,
identical.
It hurts not to put the last Bendis Action Comics, but I know what it did.
I mean, we read the same 6 issues, and one of them was definitely not making it. So outside of a little ordering difference, there wasn't going to be a lot of variation in that.
No,
so
not at all.
It is what it is. So there you go. So I will tell you what's coming next week, and it is not a big list, of course. Although some of the books are a little bigger, but it's not a big list by any means. So coming next week on week 5 for December, we have the Batman Annual number 5. Which I think is Tynan, so it is going to be maybe relevant to the ongoing story. It is Tynan, just double checked.
It is, and it's Origin of Clown Hunter.
James Stokoe on art though. Oh,
yeah.
Which I don't think you liked when it popped up last time, but I love Stokoe's art, so I am on board for that. But we have Dark Knight's Death Metal, the last 52, War of the Multiverse issue 1. So one of the final tie-ins before we get to the issue 7.
Yep.
That is that an 80-pager?
I believe so. It's got a $9 price tag, so
it's a good week for it, to be honest, because it's not a lot else.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
And then Justice League Endless Winter issue 2, of course, wrapping up Endless Winter, which is a $5 40-pager. And also out next week is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Dark Knight's Metal issue 1. That's how long we've been doing these Tales from the Dark Multiverse. Is that the thing that started at Metal is now getting its own Tales from the Dark Multiverse? One shot.
Yeah, which I got confused for a second because I forgot what this book was, and I was like, wait, there's another tie-in. What the hell is this? And I was like, I don't have to read that one now.
Yeah, so it's not a tie-in. I mean,
no,
not in the traditional sense anyway. Yeah, I'll be skipping that. So we got 3 big books, which is Dark Knight's Metal, or Death Metal, Last 52, War of the Multiverse, Justice League Endless Winter 2, and Batman Annual 5. So that's cool. Plus, I'll be doing my Patreon books. If you're wondering where our annual episode is coming, which is where we do our best of the year stuff, basically we're waiting for Carter to come back, and then we'll schedule whenever we're going to do that. So that's where we do our best books of the year, best artists, best writers, all that kind of thing. Do our end of year awards. Usually we do it right around New Year's because we're waiting on Connor to be able to record again. It might be a week or two later than normal, whenever we can all fit it in. So, that's when we're doing that. Because I would have been tempted to maybe just like pair it with these few books, but because I think it's not worth doing it without Connor, we'll just have a kind of a lighter episode. Maybe do a couple of questions if it is a bit later. But that's the plan. That's what next week is looking like. So.
Yep.
Join us for that. Now, that is the part of the show now where I'll thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you and Merry Christmas to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Al Treisman, Christopher Moy, Brett Williams, and David Brown. They are Patreon producers for the month of December. You can, of course, support us over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month and get bonuses for your trouble. You get early access to the show by a day at the $5 tier, so go and have a look and see if you're interested in helping keep all the content coming, so on and so on. Obviously, if you're a patron who expects books covered by Connor, there was a chance at the start of the month when I didn't know when he was coming back that I might have to take all of his Patreon books and do them all for the people so that they got something. He said that he would just catch up on them as soon as he comes back, so he's going to have a little rush of December Patreon books to do. when he's back. So that may be the first or second week of January. But he will do them. Don't worry. He'll do his next Red Hood. He'll do because he was going to do Action Comics with us if he was back in time for it. But there was a backup sent by the patron, which I've forgotten right now what it is, but we'll find out. But he's got Rosmo in his future, so we can be delighted about that. So he's going to be punished for his absence. How dare he?
Ouch.
But yes, so yeah, great Patreon. You can also support us by liking, subscribing, giving us a good rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from, 5 stars, all that stuff. All of it helps. Yes, Matt?
I just had a thought that Bendis is doing the Future State Legion story with Rosmo art.
He is.
So if someone really wants to punish,
I'm pretty sure it was implied that was the choice for January. So
boy.
So he's got something else to make up for Action because he wasn't here for that, and then he's going to have Bendis and Rosmo, which might be the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's great news. Also, get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast, and this is essentially the last episode of the year because the next one we do will be right after New Year's, so we'll be in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you to everyone who supports the show and has been listening or watching throughout the year. We very much appreciate it. Obviously, we don't stop enough and actually thank everyone for being along this journey with us and engaging in our silly conversation about people in capes and tights and whatever else. But hopefully we have helped you out this year because it has been a very stressful year. For everyone, for obvious reasons. Hopefully we have given a bit of an escape to that and try to keep the conversation going with everything. And I know not everyone loved Quarantine the Multiverse when there was no books for a month. Some people hated that, and that's fine. I get it. You're here for comic book talk, and there was no comic books to talk about. Makes sense.
Yeah, but we tried our best.
Our best. Like, I enjoyed the quizzes personally. Connor hated them, but...
yeah, because they took forever.
A nice meaty quiz is what you want. Also, I think Connor just was mad because he was losing. He lost like every week.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. He's not only did they take forever, but he lost. And, So yeah.
Hey, what do you want from me? So yes. So that is the plan. I don't think. I mean, Matt's not said anything about having to push recording next week, so I assume it'll be out at the same time next week.
As of, I have to do some talking offline.
Okay.
But yeah, I was going to not going to do that business right now.
I mean, we're recording this in the usual day, despite the fact that it's the day after Christmas. If for some reason we do have to delay recording next week because of a New Year's related thing, then don't worry, it'll just be up whenever it's up as soon as it can. Yep. But at least right now, the plan is to go as normal. Obviously, after that, we should be back to just normal every week anyway, so it's fine. So, thank you very much for joining us, though. This has been episode 233 of Comics from the Multiverse. And, I'm excited to get into Future State and Infinite Frontier because we started at the start of Rebirth. And while we kind of get out of the Rebirth phase, we never really went into a new phase yet. And this is kind of us finally getting into this next phase. So it feels like we're veterans now with this, not just starting out with Rebirth.
Yeah, man, I've survived the New 52 Wars and now the Rebirth Wars.
Yep.
And we're going into whatever's next, so yikes.
Into the infinite.
Yeah, there we go. Infinite War. Oh no. That's not good. 2020.
No.
I think it's 2021.
That's fine. It's fine. We're good.
We can handle Infinite Wars in 2020.
Infinite Wars is a Marvel thing. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Or that's Infinity, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
Imagine DC actually called something Infinite Wars. It'd be so close.
I think it would be hilarious.
It'd be so close. Oh man. I was going to say slap a crisis on it, but they've already done Infinite Crisis.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Infinity Crisis.
Yeah.
Oh, they should do it. Just to be trolls.
They should.
All right. That has been the episode, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. We will see you next week. So keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
And Connor Kent does indeed exist.